Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings Kane Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby. We're really excited, actually, to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of The Huddle. Coach, yes! All right!
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real Portland live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. Let's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
What up, what up? It's obviously not Monday night, as it says in the intro, but we are here back at it on Wednesday nights in Six Rings Canes. Joined by the legendary Vish today, and
something.
Blue is actually out. He's actually out on the recruiting trail. Basically, I know he was in Tallahassee last night. He was in. He's in Gainesville tonight, if I'm not mistaken. He'll be in.
So he's slumming it, in the wretches of the state.
South Florida or Central Florida tomorrow, and then back in Miami this weekend. We got a big weekend this weekend in Miami as far as recruiting is concerned. The Canes barbecue, as I like to call it, is this weekend. So got a lot of big names here. Obviously, we had a huge weekend last weekend of visitors, the weekend before that as well. And, look, listen, if you can't get the GOAT, Larry Bluestein, on the to come on because he's out grinding away, what better than to bring in another GOAT, right? He's not gonna, he's gonna humble it out, of course, but why not bring in another recruiting guru, another expert on the thing? One of our homies here, one of our brothers on the show, a friend of the program, none other than Mr. Rasta. Let's go ahead and bring Buddy in. What's going on, man?
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
Listen, man, you're in some pretty cool company there with Larry Bluestein. If you're up there with him, man, and not only from recruiting, but as far as like edits, right? If y'all follow him on Twitter and on Instagram and all that, he's got some of the most fire edits in the game. So shout out to you on that as well, man. We appreciate you coming on. It's been a minute.
It has, man. It has. I took a break for a little bit, so first show I think since like spring. So
yeah.
dust off the cobwebs real quick and light it back up, man.
This is a good show to dust off the cobwebs with because we're all over the place all the time, so it's perfect. Oh man, as I was mentioning there recently, Russell, man, we had a huge couple of weeks recruiting wise for the Hurricanes. Obviously, last week we had some of the biggest names in college football recruiting, as far as high school kids, the Justin Scotts of the world, Aiden Breland, Jaden Jackson, and so on and so forth. We had so many big names here on campus. I want to start off with that before we get into, this weekend's barbecue, because look at that. We got some degenerates rolling in. What's up, Flo? What's up, B-Dot? Damn.
We invite Roston, what's coming with him. But it's the price we pay. We get the recruiting expert analysis here, but we got to deal with the degenerates in the chat.
Of course. But it's always fun to have the guys here on the chat as well. So, I definitely wanted to kind of get into that because the goose is loose. He's in there in the chat now. Damn, what are you doing? Barney. Damn. All right. I like it.
That's the name they better get used to.
Yes, sir. I speaking of that, right? Speaking of getting names that we need to get used to, man. We obviously want to talk about, DJ's favorite position on the football field, apparently.
Here we go.
If
Here we
you
go.
know, Rasta,
He's been
if you know
waiting.
Rasta,
He's been
it's
waiting.
kinda, you know, I'm gonna let you handle this one, but let him know a little bit about DJ's obsession here. You know.
Yeah, DJ's been asking for tight ends
Okay.
for some reason. I don't know. He wants like an 11 tight end set on offense, but we haven't really had any come in. So you know, this is his time to shine now.
Because you
Man.
always
Elijah
want a
Lofton.
security blanket when your offensive line fails and your quarterback is running for his life.
Yeah, man.
And
I feel you.
I feel like the line is going to be better this year, but last year we could have. Will Mallory played exceptional, but you definitely saw the need for a tight end as Tyler Van Dyke was trying not to get his head blown off. But
Yeah.
anyway, Elija Lofton.
Elija Lofton, baby. So let's talk about him first before any of the other visitors, because obviously some big names were out here. But you know, this is a big name kid, right? A 4-star, you know, athlete out of what seems to be a little bit, you know, a little bit of a pipeline. We obviously went away from it maybe last year, a couple years ago, but we know that team too well. Bishop Gorman over in Nevada, obviously, you know, Brevin Jordan. What's his face? Jeez, how am I losing his name right now? The safety.
Tate Martell.
Bubba Bolden.
Jesus. Yes, exactly. So, some other
A fellow around here, so never heard of him. Who's
yeah, but now we bring in another big time tight end out of Bishop Gorman and Elija Lofton, kind of in the same. I don't know. You could tell me better. In the same mold as Brevin Jordan, right? Not really tall, but about 6'2", 6'3", about 220, 230. Who do you kind of see him as that type of tight end? What do you like about Elija Lofton?
Just that he's a football player in general. He's not your technical tight end because obviously he's a little on the shorter side. It's funny you say, you know, like 6'2" is short. Like, yeah, when you look at our tight end room right now, and I think the smallest guy is Arroyo at like 6'4". Everybody else is 6'6". So, you know, it's kind of on the shorter side, but he's an athlete. Bench press is like 550, I think it is. Leg press is like almost 650 pounds as well. But what I like about him is he's not afraid to get in dirty. You know, obviously we all kind of turn on the tape and you can see him catching passes down the field. I brought up a play he did against, I believe it was Chaminade, if I'm not mistaken. He ran a wheel route. It looked like literally the wheel route Brevin ran against Florida State. It's almost identical, just separate hashes. But especially at tight end, they don't get talked about enough about blocking, right? And that was Will Mallory's biggest critique. You know, he couldn't block. He wasn't physical enough. You know, get a defensive end who's got a quick first step, and he busts around Mallory. So we needed that last year a lot. You know, when you look at Arroyo, that's kind of what makes him who he is. He's not afraid to block. He can still catch a crossing pattern. He still, you know, take the linebacker deep. Those are things you need, right? But I think you will see him more so used in the backfield, in that halfback. You know, maybe at fullback some. Like, he's just a Swiss Army knife, bro. Like, you can use him all over the field. Obviously, he's not one of my number one tight ends because, like I said, he's not like a true tight end. I want Caleb Odom, which is arguably number one. Devon Mitchell is a 2025 kid who will be on campus this week as well. And you got some other guys that, you know, that Miami's flirting around with and kind of kicking the tires. But, you know, as just a football player in general, bro, you got to have those type of guys. You know, the guys that say, hey, coach, you need it, I'll go do it. You need that type of guy on the field at all times too.
Yeah, I feel like he's a little more versatile because you can use him, like you said, out of the backfield in that H-back role. You can, you know, pull him out and maybe use him in the slot in like some, you know, big formations as well. We got some bigger, you know, receivers out there, some of the other bigger tight ends. He could potentially draw a mismatch with those linebackers and safeties, so that's nice to have. And then you can still throw out there the Arroyos and Skinner and all these other guys and still kind of mismatch as well with the defense. So I like that. Rasa, what do you like about Flo says, I like that he's a football. Yeah, I like that he plays football. Not hockey, not soccer, football. But
it's a good trait that I like in our football commits.
Yeah. DJ, I want to know.
Obviously, what Rasta meant, we're obviously kidding, but he's more versatile. He's not pigeonholed into one position. He's just a quality football player is what he meant and what he said. But we'll kid with you anyway.
DJ, what's your take on Elija Lofton, man? That's your boy right there.
I like Lofton a lot. I think you guys mentioned earlier the track record of tight ends from Bishop Gorman. Brevin Jordan certainly did his part here, and he is a little bit on the smaller side, but in this type of offense that I think is going to be run, you need athletes and you need players that will be able to move quickly. And more we're seeing not the slow lumbering tight end, but the agile run after the catch, have a little bit of speed type of tight end. And then you also mentioned, he played a little bit of running back as well. So having that speed and that pass catching ability to where, he can still serve the tight end position, but also possibly find his way into other areas of the field is always a good, thing to have on a program. And it allows the coaching staff to get him on the field in the way that they see fit rather than pigeonholing him per se into one, positional spot.
You know what I like about him too, and Ross or Vish, you guys could chime in on this, is again, just going back to him being in the backfield. If you go with like these goal line offense, right, you could just pitch it to him or just turn around and give it to him in the backfield, because like you mentioned, DJ, right, he has played a little bit of running back in high school, and he's got an idea out there. Now you've got a big set where he can kind of plow through that line as well. So I like that about him. Is that something that you can see Mario Chris? That's the type of offense he likes when he's down in the goal line anyways. He wants to try to punch it through. You can see him being used that way, right?
I think the funny part is, when you go back to talking about somebody like Brevin, right, who I remind you of, in that offense, it was a bunch formation, hand the ball, like tight end reverse.
Yeah.
So there's no room. When you get a guy like Dawson who's going to spread you out, then you use a tight end reverse or, end around or anything like that. And he's been giving me crap.
Of course. Thanks, Flo. We appreciate it, brother.
Hopefully, didn't come out of Flo's NIL fund.
They come out of the NIL fund.
You gotta have Ross on more often, man.
I know. When money's coming in, what is this? You gotta tell Bluey's been replaced, and Ross is a revenue generator.
Nah, I can never replace Blue. That's, like you said, that's the real GOAT. Flo will tell you that one too. Tell him to donate and tell you that Blue's the GOAT.
All right, so now that we've gotten the important stuff out of the way, DJ. Listen, some of the bigger names in like I mentioned earlier in recruiting right now, in high school recruiting, high school football players were down here last weekend. I mentioned already a couple of guys. Obviously, it was Justin, as we like to call it, Justin Scott weekend. Can you kind of just talk to me a little bit about how your thoughts, what your thoughts were about having, some of these big names? What are some of the names that you were excited to see on campus? I'm sure there was some surprises that nobody knew about or that nobody found out about until late, like the Hayes kid from Florida. Talk to me a little bit about what you liked as far as how the visits went, and could that be a really, really good potential weekend moving forward as far as some of the guys kind of pulling the trigger and committing to Miami?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back and look at like last year's dialogue, whatever you want to call it, diagram, and you look at each week, the weekend, the second weekend of June has typically been the better weekend, right? Like that was when we had, I think, Francis and some of the other big guys that we landed, Jaden Wayne. So usually that second weekend is nice, but I mean, the 16th, that third weekend of June, you have a guy like Kevin Riley who's committed. I don't think he gets talked about enough. He's got to me a little Alvin Kamara in him, however you want to say his name. He's a versatile back. I just don't think he gets enough credit, when you're looking at guys that came that week. We all talk about Justin Scott because the whale, right? The
right.
tsunami, But I mean, yeah, when you get a guy like Justin Scott, I like how they did that weekend, because somebody like that, you don't want to put him in that second week, or obviously this fourth week of June, because there's so many guys, and he's your primary target, right? You want to give him that one-on-one. You want to be able to give him more attention and stuff like that. So, I mean, I can't really hate how they did it. Like, there's one thing I think we've all kind of said over time. One thing you never have to worry about as long as Mario Cristobal is here is recruiting. So, and this dude he's an assassin with how he sets up his official visits. The crazy part is not enough credit goes to the men and women behind the scenes, right?
Right.
The Mackenzie Rizzies, the Tias, like those dudes, Jordans and guys like that, like they don't get enough credit, man, for how they set things up and how the planning goes. We aren't giving away a great value cinnamon roll on a bed, I'm just saying they're at least out here doing, kind of getting to know these kids, man. And that to me is key, because when they come, you obviously want to put their favorite snacks and candies and stuff like that. But bro, there's a lot more that goes into it rather than just snacks and candies, So this weekend coming, I don't want to say the barbecue, because the official visits start tomorrow, ends on the barbecue, right? The barbecue is like the send off. But we didn't do that last year. If you go back and look at how we did last year, it started Friday night. The Legends camp was Saturday, and then it was Sunday was send off. Then the following weekend was barbecue. Certain people got invites. It was invite only and stuff like that. So, when you look at stuff and you look at just the changes, even going back to Elite Prospect, it changed. Mario's literally looking at every way that they've done it over the last year and tweaking some things, right? He's kind of like fixing some niches that may have been a little loose, like this year, you can't beat, Mario to a chase by Friday Night Lights. It's on Friday, then you hold a kid hostage, quote unquote, and then he can't come visit for Legends camp, stuff like that, which is bullcrap. Let kids go and visit. If you're that threatened, then, pull your big boy panties up and keep it pushing, but at least let these kids go out and visit and have fun and so on and so on. But I like how they're doing it this year. I like all 4 weeks so far. Week one, you had Kamari and Franklin, another huge guy who's coming back. Obviously, I think he's here today. You're on mute, Jess.
Yeah, isn't he coming back? Or he's here already? Yeah.
I think he flew in today, if I'm not mistaken. He'll be here tomorrow to work out for Coach Taylor, which is another thing, bro. You're getting a 5-star. And one thing I will say about that young man is he's not afraid to go, get out here and camp and get his work in. That to me is what sticks out the most, what you want from a kid. He went to Ole Miss and worked out. He went to Auburn and worked out. He was at Tennessee. Now he's coming out here. And these are all unofficial, obviously, because you can't work out officially. But,
Right.
Man, when you look at kids like that, bro, those are dudes you want in your program. And I think this week alone, you've got to seal the deal with the young man like that, because Tennessee is definitely on the line for him.
Well, I find it interesting to see like guys like Kamari and Franklin. I spoke about him, I want to say on Max's show a few weeks back. We talked about, some of the guys that we want to see here. And it was like 5 guys that were visiting that week. This is flip season, B-Dot. What you talking about, man? You ain't supposed to throw it out there. I let it go, man, but damn. No, we're messing around. But like, I love to see that, he's coming back again, or he's here already. Chris Cole, another one, right? A big time linebacker prospect that's going to be here, or if he's not already here, he's going to be here this weekend. You got some of these other guys that are coming back again. I don't know. I might have read somewhere. You correct me if I'm wrong. Jaden Jackson might be interesting. I'm not sure if it was him. It was somebody else that I saw. And I'm like, man,
he might, but I'm not sure. I haven't heard that name yet.
But what is it? So you talked about him change, him. When I say him, I mean Mario Cristobal, changing a couple of things, right? With how he's, pursuing these recruiting visit weekends. What's the biggest change that he is making that you think, wow, this is going to be a lot better now than it even was last year? And last year he killed it. So if he's trying to make it even better, what are some of the changes that you see that are making the biggest difference?
It's more detailed,
Yeah.
right? The visit itself. It's not just, hey, come do a photo shoot, we'll give you a campus tour, take you to eat, like it's not just that. Like the way they're going about the meetings, like I've heard parents and the recruits all have separate meetings also with the coaching staff. Like the parents will go meet with Coach Cristobal, the kid will go meet with Coach Taylor, and Coach Joe, and then they'll swap and then all meet together. Like, bro, it's so detailed just about how he's moving. These slideshows. It's not just, hey, this is, where we see you. It's, hey, with this young man, this is where he's going to be year one. This is where he's going to be year two. And no, it's not just stats and, him starting. No, it's his classes, his internships. Bro, it's so detailed. And I'm not saying he didn't have some of that last year. It's just him getting here so, later in that period, then have to turn around, prep and get his staff together, prep and get the team together. He's able to sit here, apply this to an entire staff. And yeah, we had a staffing change again a little bit, but the fact that he's able to sit here and have a full assistance, recruiting staff that focuses on, hey, this is your job. I want you to view this. This is what I want. You're going to meet with this coach on this time. Everything is so detailed, bro. I just haven't seen anything like that, and I've been around a while. So on Max.
Yeah. I'm watching it here. I'm actually watching that game also. That's baseball stuff, man. We can't get rid of it. We can't get rid of baseball.
I'd like a coach at some point. I feel like that's really useful going into next year.
I would like Miami to have their head coach.
Head coach would be good. Yes.
Yeah. This is starting to begin to look like a little bit of the Shannon Dawson situation. It's unbelievable. All right, we spoke about obviously Kevin Riley, another big commit, right? Big time running back out of Alabama, taking him away from those guys over there in SEC land. But let's talk about the big boys, right? Let's talk about Justin Scott. Let's talk about Aiden Breland. I think Breland was here this weekend too, right? So let's talk about, was it here or was it?
No, he was the week before. He was the week before. He was at Georgia this past week.
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to Oregon this week.
What's up with those guys? Like, is that? I mean, obviously, we've all been talking about Justin Scott being kind of like the prized possession of this commitment class, right?
Right.
5-star blue chipper that's going to be able to rake everybody else in once he commits. Hasn't pulled the trigger yet. Doesn't mean he won't. But we're talking about the dead period coming up, and I know DJ, we mentioned this offline, but the dead period coming up. What, in the next couple of weeks now? After this weekend, actually, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I think it's in a week, like July 1st, I think.
So not much communication is going to happen during that time. Do you see someone like a Justin Scott or Breland or Jackson, something like that, kind of pulling the trigger early now in June, or is he still going to wait?
I think July is going to be the month that we see our run of commits. I think we're sitting at like 13, 14 right now, something like that. I mean, I could see, honestly, another 4 to 6 in July. It just depends. Obviously, it seems like this era in college football, the last 23 and 24 cycle, these young men are wanting to commit more and more before the season even gets here. A lot of these, you'll have almost 20-something commits by the start of the year. And now you just got to hold on and fill the last little pieces, right? But when you look at a guy like Aiden Breland or even Colin Simmons and Dylan Stewart, more 5-star D linemen that we're after, I think a lot of those guys can pull the trigger, and I think we lead for a handful of those guys. I think this D-line class could be one of the best in the country, like hands down. So, obviously July is going to play a huge part, but when you get a guy like Mario who's relentless, then you look at his staff and Coach Guidry and Coach Taylor, like those guys have so much energy, bro. I don't know how they do it. Up all hours of the night and then wake up super early in the morning and right back at it, texting a kid at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, depending on what side of the country he's on. But why not? Like, why? When you look at a guy like Aiden Breland, right, or even Justin Scott, they've been a Miami lean for a minute, right? All we heard through spring, they made multiple visits, multiple day visits. at the end of the day, yeah, I think right now we lead for Justin Scott. I think we lead for Aiden Breland. Obviously, it's recruiting. Things are fluid. He just came off a visit to Georgia. He's going to go to Oregon. Justin Scott's headed to Ohio State this weekend. Obviously, you can't just say, oh, well, whatever. Those are just free. Nah, man.
Wow, man.
Some schools maybe, but I think some of these schools, yeah, bro, it's a legit threat. Anytime they're going to Ohio State with a D-line coach that they got, or you got Ohio or Oregon with Dan Lannon, who's coming from the Georgia lineage, and anytime you have that stuff, man, it can go either way, right? But at the end of the day, don't believe everything you read. These kids, unless it comes from the young man himself telling you directly that this is what Oregon leads, or Georgia leads, Texas leads, don't believe it. It could be true, but man, I've been doing this for so long, bro. I just sit back and just kind of watch actions, watch movements, watch the way the kid, his facial expression about a school and stuff like that. You just kind of gotta watch little things. But when you see these articles, no kid's going to tell you a visit's bad. They're not going to go, oh, man, I hated Georgia. Why would I hate Georgia? It's free food. It's free hotels. It's free flights. Like, I mean, come on, bro.
Some of these kids, man.
I'm in my 30s, and I'll take the visit.
Yeah, you don't got to ask me twice.
Yeah.
The thing is, some of these kids are so good at playing this, playing the recruiting game, right? It's a business for them. I know Flo mentions this a lot, man. Like, this is a business decision at this point. Forget about loyalty. Forget about your favorite schools. That stuff comes second fiddle to a lot. I'm not saying all of them are like that, but
Right.
to a lot of these, kids, man, they want to be set. They want to help their families. That's number one before, well, my dream school is Miami. It sometimes it doesn't work that way. And I think that fans, us as fans have to take that into account when the way the world is now, the way that recruiting is in high school football and everything, right? There's a lot of things we can't agree with because we're a little more old school. We don't agree with it, don't understand it, but it's the way that it is, right? And Vish, I kind of want to get your take on this, like from a business standpoint, man. Like, obviously, the NIL is huge, social media is huge, and all that stuff. But when you put your family and what everybody else is throwing at you from a financial standpoint, it's hard to just choose your favorite school because it's your favorite school. How do you combat that, you think? And not only in recruiting, but just like from a school perspective, what do you have to do to kind of pull a kid to say, well, this is a place for you, sans all the money and all the other stuff?
Well, you gotta categorize it as an investment in their future, right? That's what they're doing here. There's an immediacy. There's NIL money will come in. There's, let's just say, other inducements without going into details. We were going to get sued or something, right? But all of that is instantaneous in the grand scheme of things. Even the largest NIL deals are not. If you make the NFL, they're dropping the bucket, and so you kind of got to sell them on that vision. It's the best place for you to succeed. You also have to sell the education aspect because a lot of the percentages are there, right? Most of these guys are not going to go to the next level. They're not going to play football professionally as a career. So you also want to talk about, this is what our alums that don't play football do. This guy's the CEO of this company now. Yeah, he was a backup linebacker here, and now he's running this company, or he's this successful in business, or he's doing that with this degree, right? And that's what you want to sell, the whole package, and hopefully that resonates with them as, this is the best investment in your future. And that's how you combat the immediacy, because there's always going to be a school with more money. Whatever we offer, someone will offer more, and then sometimes we'll be the school offering more, right? I mean, it's that is, that is economics. These kids are in demand. So they're going to set the market, and there's going rates on that. So you got to kind of, to differentiate, you got to kind of sell the full package of what your school brings to the table. And for us, that is, playing a major conference. It's a really good school academically. It's a smaller private school. It's a different college experience than you're going to get at most of these other programs, right? I mean, there are other, like Notre Dame's also a private school. We're not the only one, but it's rare to compete at the high level as a private school. So you kind of want to sell those distinctions. and say, this is what we can give you that, another school can't. And this is actually where you'll get the best education, get the best opportunity to succeed outside of football. Because I think the other thing you can flatly say is, if you're good enough to play in the NFL finds you, right? I mean, as much as we can say Georgia's putting this many kids in the NFL, Alabama's putting this kids in the NFL, if those kids had gone to Miami, they'd also be in the NFL. Right. It's not like we would have ruined them to the point that they're not going to make the pros. So, well, not anymore. So I think, that's part of it. You say, look, you're going to make the pros because you're talented enough to do that. That's not what your focus should be. Right. It's the other stuff. Like, what if you get injured? Like, which school's going to take care of you? Where you're going to get the best education? Where you're going to be able to succeed outside of what school takes care of you afterwards? If you leave here early, you can come back for free and get a degree later. We cover it. Like, how many schools are doing that? It's that kind of stuff, that you got to sell. And then, even on the field, we talked about this, I think, last week or the week before, but, Alabama and Georgia are machines now. You can go there, be elite. You're just another name on a long list of players that have been doing that, to be honest. Like, you're not standing out. Like, imagine if you go to Alabama and play quarterback and the quarterbacks you're following. What are you realistically going to do to even get remembered there at this point, right? So here you have an opportunity to kind of make a legacy for yourself that you don't at a lot of schools. So there's a lot you can sell there, and you got to do it. You got to do the whole package. But to Ross's point, you got to know the kid, right, and figure out what's receptive to them, because it's not a one size fits all, and they'll know immediately if you're just selling them a bill of goods. Like, they're not stupid. They'll immediately know, like, this guy's full of it. Like Ross said, they're not going to come back from the recruiting trip and be like, Coach was full of it, but they'll know. They'll know, right? Sure. But they'll know. Yeah. And that's one of Mario's biggest strengths is he's genuine. He comes across that way. And he believes what he's telling you. And a lot of these coaches are snake oil salesmen, and the players know it too. And that's probably his best asset as a recruiter is what you get from him is you get Mario, because that's what he is. And so you know exactly what you're getting there.
For sure. That's true. Rasa, before we let you go, we got to talk about this weekend. Legends Camp starts tomorrow. You got Legends Camp running through. Then you've got, obviously, you kind of ended with the barbecue, as you mentioned, the send-off. Who are some of the big names that we can expect down here? Obviously, we mentioned already Kamarian, Chris Cole. I know Hellcat's going to be out here. So who are some of the other names that we can expect coming down?
I mean, you got Jeremiah Smith, JoJo Trader, bang bang.
Who are those guys?
Yeah, I mean, Jeremiah's on an OV this week. Trader will be there unofficially, but he'll be there. You got Chance coming down as well, with all the rumors, flipping to Florida, stuff like that. It's obviously a great time to seal the deal there. You got a lot of our commits already. Dylan Day, Abraham Murray, or however you say his first name.
Oh, yeah.
Kicker. You got Judd Anderson. I mean, you got a lot of our actual. There's like 20 plus guys that are going to be on official visits this week. I mean, this is a big week, right? But obviously, you got Kamarian Franklin. That's going to be probably one of your biggest unofficial visitors outside of JoJo Trader. But a guy like Ja'Cory Barney. He's a guy that really hasn't been talked about much. Out of Palmetto, wide receiver. He's to me, I would call him a late bloomer. Bursting on the scene, making noise right now. Obviously, going into a senior year, he's a guy I think could be on commit watch. Obviously, you just got to kind of see how it goes this weekend. Family will be kind of here, so I think that's a big deal. Usually if the family don't come and it's an official visit and you're right down the road, then it's a good thing. Caleb Odom, one of my favorite tight ends in his class. He doesn't like to be called a tight end. He wants to be a wide receiver, which a lot of these guys do now, obviously. But he's a big time visitor. He's kind of been to Alabama, Florida, Ole Miss. Like, he's been all over. Seems like Bama's got the lead right now. Hopefully we can kind of sway that this weekend and get him to flip, that momentum or whatever, because he's actually, I think he commits July 9th, if I'm not mistaken. It's his day he's setting up. So that's the big thing. You get the last visit. It's a huge weekend. He'll get to see the lineage of tight ends coming through. I'm pretty sure Shockey, a lot of those guys come every year. So maybe Njoku, stuff like that. But getting there, I think with somebody like Skinner, who he's kind of like in a similar mold, tall, slim, more of a wide receiver. I think that'll be good for him to see. So this weekend, man, I can't wait, bro. I'm excited. I mean, this is usually the fun weekend, I'll say, because it's Legends Camp, it's the barbecue. It's the last week of OVs. So I've gotten a few messages. I know these guys are working. They've got a couple guys on the outside trying to help them. This is they know what this weekend is. This is a huge weekend. I'm not gonna say we're probably gonna land like all that momentum with the commits and stuff. I'm not gonna say that. I mean, I think that kind of was wild, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want us to fizzle out in 1 week.
Right. But there's a possibility we could land a guy or a kid or two, right? I mean, that's.
I think we do. I think we at least land one, maybe two, this weekend.
Right.
So this is that weekend, but I think July, man. I really do. I think July we kind of put the foot on the pedal, and Mario kind of makes people realize again, hey, ain't nothing changed. Y'all just forgot how long I make this process. So I think this weekend will cement that again.
I want to ask you about the kid that you mentioned, Barney, right? A kid out of Palmetto.
Mm-hmm.
So you said he's a late bloomer. He's someone that's coming on the scene, bursting on the scene a little bit now. Is he the type of kid that, let's say, pulls the trigger and commits to Miami, right? Is he the kind of guy that, and real talk, the fans are going to be like, oh, here we go. We're taking a guy that's it's not a 4-star. He's one of these. Well, he's probably a 3-star commit, a 3-star prospect. Who's like you said, right, kind of bursting on the scene now, but he's a talented kid, and that doesn't mean we've seen Mario do this before, where he takes some of these kids that are lower 4 stars, lower 3-star, recruits, and they end up being really good players. But is that what we could expect if you see a kid like Barney commit this weekend? I
don't think it's honestly just Barney. I mean, you got Vincent Shavers.
Oh yeah.
Michael Pruitt out of Bama. Cam, my bad. I know it's Bobby Pruitt. What are they?
Bobby Pruitt, yeah.
But those guys, man, bro, it's the recruiting ranking crap or whatever. I don't even focus on it this time of the year because they don't even have the 32 or 36 5-stars yet. Because they haven't fully updated it. They don't have all the 4 stars they have yet. Like a lot of the top 400 players are like 4 stars still. So it's like, who cares? Stop watching the stars. Go turn on this tape and just see what a kid has. And there's going to be kids that you may not like, but that's okay. It's not you giving this kid the green light. It's Mario. You got to understand. I mean, if he fails, it's on Mario. It's not on you. These are things that this staff has. They realize their jobs are on the line. Their livelihood is all on the line by them taking this kid, that kid, so I don't think they're just going to take a kid just because, well, can't get that one over there, so I'm going to take this one. No, there's a whole process, there's a whole routine. That's why you don't see a lot of these kids pop immediately. We're not taking commits in February and March and April. No, there's a whole process they got to go through to, be able to commit. I think somebody put it up earlier today, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe yesterday. We had like 9 3-stars last year at this time, and only like 4 4-stars. And it changed by the end of the year. I think Barney's a 4-star on one of the recruiting sites or whatever already.
He is.
But yeah, so he'll eventually they either go up or he'll go down. I mean, those recruiting rankings and stuff, it's all politics at the end of the day. They base it on where does this kid go? How well do they develop at that position? How well do they put those guys into the NFL? What traits does this kid have? What's his height? They look at all this other crap. And at the end of the day, if you can tell me that half these kids in high school are going to go be first-round draft picks in the NFL, you need to be up in Vegas out there betting, all your money on chips because, dude, you're talking almost 4 to 5 years away. Like you're telling me a kid's gonna be a first rounder, like that's just wild to me. So don't look at the rankings. Go turn on his tape. If you know what you're looking at with tape, go watch his tape. If not, get somebody that you trust or that you feel like watch his tape well enough. Go ask them. At the end of the day, hell, reach out to the staff. Most of the staff will talk to you. So, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Trust them. Don't trust them. Whatever it is, at the end of the day, they're going to be playing on Saturday. You're going to have to root for them, or you're going to be sitting there miserable, mad that we took the kid.
Well, you'd be surprised how many people would rather do that than, it's crazy. You know how it is. Yep. Before we let you go, Ross, if you had to choose one kid, I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot and name a kid. Damn. But I'm going to do it anyways. If you had to choose one kid to pull the trigger this weekend.
Ooh, this weekend. I thought you were going to say over the whole cycle. I already had that one ready to go.
Come on. Now it's too early for that.
I got my favorites always. Always have mine. They're usually DBs because I'm a DB. This weekend, man. You know what? I'm going to go Chris Cole. I'm going to just say Chris Cole. Yeah.
Talk about stacking up that linebacker position. That linebacker room is going to be nasty.
I think we take two more. But obviously,
Nesta is kind of – he's probably a Sooner, right, if you had to choose.
He is. He committed yesterday.
He did. He committed already. Okay.
Chris Cole, I know, will be kind of the top of the board. You got Darius Hayes, who they're trying to flip from Florida. I know if both of them want in, they're taking both. I can guarantee you that.
I don't blame them.
You got Keyshawn Flowers out there. You got Dylan Williams still out there. I mean, there's a lot of linebackers that haven't committed anywhere yet that, honestly, I would take them in a heartbeat because I like all those dudes. I think they're all insane.
Nice.
But if just from this weekend, I'll probably say Chris Cole because he's a legacy. Rohan's nephew. Right. We had him on the show a little while ago. And plus, George is pushing. So
he's a big time kid, right? He's
top 60.
Yeah, so that'll be pretty big. Listen, man, we need to have you on the show more often, bro.
Hey, I'm back now. I actually got a
let them know. Let them know what you're doing. Yeah,
me and Dave got a big announcement coming. Follow our Twitter page, Sebastian Lane Show. We will be making an announcement Monday. We'll also be making an announcement on Flo's show Sunday night. So tune in. We got some revamping. We had, took a little break, a little quick, and we're coming back. We'll actually be back next month fully doing what we do. But stay tuned for sure. Check us out. We got a lot of stuff coming. I'm actually changing my graphic game up. Made an announcement. So if you don't follow me at Rasta Edits. My other page got hacked. It was Rasta_. This one's just Rasta Edits. Definitely follow me. I dropped 3 today. So just stay tuned, man. I'm working. I'm back in action and ready to go. So, we'll be full good to go now.
Awesome, man. Hell yeah. Yeah, make sure you guys check him out and follow him on social media so you can check out all his edits are so fire too, man.
Yeah, and if you haven't, he referenced the show Sebastian Lane with Dave Franklin. Definitely check that out as well. It's an awesome show. On the Flow Network.
That's the GOAT, man.
Tennessee's finest.
Yeah.
Well, man. Hey, we appreciate it, Rasta. Thank you so much for coming on the show, my man. You're welcome anytime. So
yeah, thanks, Rasta.
Looking forward to seeing you guys get back at it.
For sure, man. I appreciate you fellas having me, man. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, Rasta. You too.
Look, I've heard. Obviously, I think we've all heard of some of those names being some really big time prospects, man. But like, just hearing it from Rasta, who does it. I mean, that's his bread and butter, man. That's his thing right there is recruiting and talking to a lot of these kids and getting a feel for what and it's not only just the kids that go to Miami. Like he builds relationships with a lot of these high school kids. And they respect him. They like him a lot. They go on the show. They talk to him. And so if there's anybody out there, I mean, second or 1A, 1B to Larry Bluestein, man. I mean, Rasta's got the pulse of a lot of what's going on when it comes to recruiting for the University of Miami. So I do appreciate it. I'm really excited for this weekend also, Vish and DJ, because this is a weekend that, that it feels like this is a weekend that Mario's this is what he was born to do, man. Like Legends Camp, he got the barbecue. He invites people to his house. Like this is gonna be huge for the future of the program as well. He's been here a year and a half, almost 2 years, I guess. And like Rasa mentioned, he's formulated like his plan now, right? Whereas last year he came in, kind of hit the ground running, didn't prepare for everything, and he still killed it, right? Number 6 recruiting class in the country. Imagine once he kind of refines everything like he's doing now, and now we're building the new $300 million facility. I mean, this is going to be something where it's going to be hard to say no to Miami, right? Anybody can answer that.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Some will say, "Oh, kids don't care about facilities. Kids don't care about X, Y, and Z." But it's always important to keep a pulse on, I hate to say it like this, but what's trending? Because now, and you guys kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. I mean, social media for these recruits, they tweet things out. They see which fan base likes their tweets the most. They see who interact with the tweets the
Hell
most.
yeah.
It's all about building the brand, especially in today's era of NIL. So the faster these programs can, get the shiny new objects and get all the cool toys, I think the better. Because now we're trending into an era where the athletes know how to market themselves and know how to get their name out there at a quicker rate than ever before.
Vish, he mentioned some of the, again, he mentioned some of the top players in the country again coming in on some on unofficial visits. The two biggest ones that I can think of right off the top of my head, actually, I guess the three biggest ones are Kamarion Franklin's, which we've spoken about. He's one of the top defensive linemen in the country. I love his game. I think that's the guy you want. If you want somebody on the line, aside from like Justin Scott and David Stone, Kamarion Franklin, he's like up there as 1A, 1B, and 1C. Like that's how good he is to me. Um, but then he mentioned the two wide receivers, man, JoJo Trader and Jeremiah Smith. And here's my thing with those guys, right? I know, everybody talks about JoJo Trader, you know, being the kid that's going to pull the trigger for Miami soon. They play on the same team. They're both, if you ask me, they're both 5-star prospects, the top 2 receivers in the country. It's crazy. It's wild. Jeremiah is obviously committed to Ohio State. Keep saying he's not going to go. Keep saying he's not going to come to Miami for any more visits. Yet here we are again. He's planning an official visit. He canceled his visit to, God, I don't even remember where it was that he was going to go. Canceled that. I think it was Ole Miss or LSU or something like that. And now he's coming to Miami again, okay, on an official visit. Obviously, he's down the street, so he can come whenever he wants. He's an hour drive away or whatever it is. But I think that it's going to take a lot more because a lot of people mention, well, you got to recruit a badass quarterback in order for some of these wide receivers to commit. Look, this is not taking anything away from Judd Anderson, right? He's a kid that was under the radar, though, but he's got a strong arm. He's a really talented kid. But now they're looking at guys like Colin Hurley and Trevor Jackson, who are at the Elite 11 camp. And Trevor Jackson's killing it at that camp. And Colin Hurley, who's a local kid, kind of a legacy kid because his family and all that stuff. PSU, there you go, Penn State. Perfect. Appreciate that, 30 Will. I know it was one of those schools. But Trevor Jackson is a big time prospect that's coming out of nowhere now on Miami's radar that could potentially pull the trigger as well. Now you're talking about some big time quarterbacks that Jeremiah Smith and JoJo Trader and all these other guys that he mentioned, Barney, are going to look and say, now we're talking. But at the end of the day, and I know this is important for you, Vish, this is why I want you to comment on it. At the end of the day, what is going to matter the most for them is that we win football games. They got to do that this year.
Yeah, no. If you can sell whatever you want. If you we get some conflicting.
Ohio State. Well, one of those stupid schools up there.
Yeah, it's all the same. Something
Yeah.
State. I think Rasta and you talked about how last year was kind of the first off season, and now he's kind of after a full season getting his ducks more in a row.
Hey, actually, that's big, by the way. I'm sorry.
He's committed there. Yeah,
Ohio State. That is kind of big. Appreciate that, Rod. Go ahead. My bad. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no. So we talked a lot about how Mario in year 2 of recruiting, but really year 1 overall, is more organized now. He's kind of got his plan in place. all that goes out of the window if you lose to Miami of Ohio in 72 days. No one's coming to play for that. I mean, it's the reality of it. We're not at the point yet where you need to like win the ACC or go to the playoffs in order to justify the program. But you certainly have to play better than you did last year. And it's not just the 5-7 records, the overall way we looked a majority of those games, even when we won the game. And like that Virginia game, we got to win in that. That's not something that's going to convince anyone to want to come play football here.
I was just thinking of that game as you were saying that, Bish.
And so I think we focus on the results, but it's got to be a program that recruits look at and say, yes, I want to play there.
Yeah.
And I think that's almost as important as winning games this year, just because everyone knows. I mean, we're not telling them, watch us, we're going to be in the playoffs this year. We're telling the truth. Like, you're going to help bring us back to where we're competing there, by the time you're a sophomore, a junior, a senior. So you got to show that you're taking those steps to make that realistic. And especially offensively, you mentioned the 2 receivers we got coming in this weekend. Like, there was nothing redeeming about the offense last year that would convince anyone to come here other than just love of Miami, which we do. That does carry us quite a bit, by the way. We get a lot of kids that from South Florida that dream to play Miami their whole life that come here regardless of who the coach is, regardless of how the team is playing. But you can only milk that for so long.
Football games.
Yeah, and so that's going to be the big thing. Is it's not just winning games, but looking like, okay, this is an offense I want to play in. Yeah, they're spreading the ball to different receivers because you mentioned we need, we still are looking at, and again, not to take anything away from Juddy Anderson, we're still looking at bringing another big time arm in the in next year's class, or this year's, whatever you want to call it. It's by hesitate in the 20, technically 24, but they'll sign in December.
Yeah, this year's class.
23. Yeah, this year's class. We do have a big time quarterback right now. So him succeeding in the offense is a good way to convince other quarterbacks to want to come here, and also just to show any prospective receiver that, if we have the right quarterback here, you'll get the ball, right? You'll be able to show out. You'll be able to win games. Like, all of that matters. And, the fact we have Emory Williams here, so he's only going to be a freshman. So these kids coming in now, he's likely to be their starting quarterback their first year.
I agree. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see what happens after this weekend. And like you mentioned, DJ, the dead period is about a week and a half away. So, obviously kids will be able to commit and all that stuff. You just can't have, I guess you can't have face-to-face contact with them for the next month or so, or whatever it is. So,
which is kind of big depending on how you look at it and where you stand with some recruits. So this is a big weekend for many programs, and it's going to be the last big push for a lot of programs before things start flying again.
Yep, 100%. Want to thank, actually, before we thank Rasta, but thank you, Rasta, anyways, let's give a shout out to Prize Picks. We were too excited to talk to Rasta, and I totally forgot to shout him out earlier today. But shout out to prizepicks.com. It's real simple, man. We talk about them all the time. We do appreciate them. And I have been a little bit more active on Prize Picks recently with a little baseball. Baseball's so tough, though, man. Jesus. I wanted to take Spencer Strider yesterday at 9Ks, and I was like, 9Ks is a lot. It's a lot. I don't care if he's the leader in strikeouts, but 9Ks is a lot. Guess what he did? He hit 9Ks yesterday. So, this is an opportunity for you guys to make some money, man. Go to prizepicks.com, log in. When you sign up, choose put in the code 5, F-I-V-E, and they will match your deposit up to $100. That's code 5, F-I-V-E. When you log in and sign up for prizepicks.com, it's real simple. Choose anywhere between 2 to 5 players. Pick the over-under on their individual categories. For instance, Strider was the over-under was 9 strikeouts for him in last night's game, and he hit 9 strikeouts. So I would have won some money had I placed the money on him hitting it. So make sure you check out prizepicks.com. It's real cool. You can mix and match players from different teams, different leagues. There's the NFL, there's the NBA, there's Major League Baseball, Formula One, you name it. They got it on there. So make sure you check it out. Again, go to prizepicks.com, code word 5, F-I-V-E. They'll match your initial deposit up to $100. Check them out, prizepicks.com. Thanks again, Rasta, for joining us on the show today. Truly appreciate it. One of the better guys when it comes to recruiting out there for Miami Hurricanes football. So make sure you guys follow him and follow what he does on Sebastian's Lane with David Franklin. They do a really good job. They'll be back on it. They're part of the Miami Flow Media crew over there. So shout out to
the Empire.
Yes, to the Empire over there. So make sure you check them out. They will be on next week, and follow them on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Check us out at 6 Rings Canes, and on Instagram as well at 6 Rings Canes. You can follow us there, and we'll be putting out some content as the week progresses with all the visits and Legends Camp and the barbecue and all that good stuff. And obviously breaking news we'll post it on there as well. So, and of course,
and we got buckets. Next week it'll be Thursday. It's our basketball show. Got a commit last week, and we talked about it on the show today. So check that out, as well as trying to figure out how come we don't have any tall players on the roster. Got a good discussion about that. Not a positive one, but a good discussion about that. But also, Jazz and I are on pins and needles here, waiting for the emergency. We've hired a baseball coach show that has not happened yet. So
baseball alert, man.
Yeah, definitely stay tuned to that, because we will go live when we have a baseball coach, which we're still waiting for. So,
as soon as we find out, we'll know.
That is it in route. Once we can get that done.
And by the way, if LSU wins here, they got to play again, right?
Yeah, they got to beat Wake twice.
So,
but all that means is advantage to Florida, who gets.
It's the top of the ninth, and LSU is up 5-2 on Wake Forest with 2 outs and a man on first. So
Wake had multiple chances last couple of games.
They just won it.
Yeah, so
now they got to play one more game.
Yeah, which sets up nicely, unfortunately, for the folks in Gainesville who are already in the final and now get more rest. And
honestly speaking, the top 3 teams in the country made it to the end. Come on, let's be honest. It's the top 3 teams. I hate to say it, but it's LSU, Wake Forest, and Florida are definitely the top 3 teams in the country.
I would say Wake and Florida definitely have a little. Well, I mean, LSU's there still, but
LSU was number 1 in the country for 13 weeks in a row or something. So that's a hell of a team there. So they've got some of the best players in it. They got the first round pick. They got the number 1 pick on that team, and possibly the number 2 pick too. So, and then Florida's got the number 3 pick in Wyatt Langford. So who knows, man? We'll see. Oh, and then you got Wilk. I mean, you got so many. Anyway, I don't want to get into it. I got to get out of here. I got to go eat. Yeah,
I wonder if they're gonna, tomorrow, someone's gonna be coming up to bat. They're gonna announce this could be his last at bat. Are we doing that, or is that only
all I need is J-Ro to
just need J-Ro, fly J-Ro in to just put a wet blanket over everything?
Unbelievable.
Anyway,
we'll see you guys next week.
We'll be all over the interwebs. Actually, all 3 programs have crap going on, so there'll be news.
Yep, for sure. See you guys later.
The 6 Ring Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Ring Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show. You know.